Hey guys, Liquid here, and welcome back to Let's Answer Some Questions. Before I get started, I just want to note that I've actually had a bit of a problem going on with my comments, where my video manager basically will tell me that I've got comments on a video, but I'm unable to actually read those comments or see them or anything. So if your question goes unread, I apologize, and I would recommend just to submit it again, and I'll answer it next week. Let's get started. But first, before I actually answer the questions on the main video, I believe I received a couple comments on some other videos, and I believe the fellow has requested that I answer them on this video. So first, let's go to okay, I don't think you can really see this, but Anoknak LPs asks, or actually this is the wrong. Okay, Anoknak LPs. Okay, he asks, basically, I think he's at what he's asking to sum it all up is there's he's asking about my Boku no Natsume Let's Play. He's asking if I think record after I've like if I play through the game or something and then record it, because he's complimenting my I guess listening ability in Japanese, and to that I say no. I record live, and it's usually like my first time going through. And a couple notes I guess I can give would be, usually when it comes to volume, I'd say usually I can understand or I can hear the game much better than it will ever come through on the video, because of like how audio mixing and whatnot is what happens. And so usually, if something might sound quiet on the video, usually I might have been able to hear it just more clearly. And also in general, I think with like the Japanese Let's Plays, I think that there is a lot of kind of fuzzing going on, where like a character will say a line and it's like it's hard to explain, like because I definitely don't like understand every single thing that's said, but it's all about, I guess, kind of filling in the gaps that you don't understand and whatnot, as well as getting a better memory, sort of like, I think if you go back to like a lot of my early Boku no Natsume videos, like anytime a character would like say a sentence that's like like say a line that's like more than two sentences, I find it hard to kind of keep up with, because with a lot of things where what would usually come at the end of a sentence in English will come at like the beginning of a sentence in Japanese. So you need to like kind of you can't really just kind of like translate as they go. You need to kind of like wait for them to finish speaking, which you need to get used to. But I do find a lot where like I know exactly, I myself know what they're saying, but then repeating it in such a way that sounds like normal English is not always the easiest, if that makes sense. Where like I'll like hear something and I'll get the gist of it, but then when it comes to actually translating it, it gets much more difficult. But in terms of your actual question, generally I like I said, just go through blindly. I know, like in a lot of earlier Boku no Natsume videos, I would kind of pause the game and like to like read the text and whatnot. But that is that. And he also asks on another video. I think I mentioned that I had built a bookcase and like filled it with like a bunch of like Japanese books and whatnot. And he asks, I guess, uh, will I show it someday or something? And I would like to show it off, like show off my collection. I've been uploading like these Japanese videos on like Saturdays, so one day maybe I could just have videos showing that off. It would probably be because it would be a bit more effort than it might like sound like, because I'll probably go through like each book or like whatever and like kind of show it off, and it'd probably be like post commentary rather than because I'll probably like record like a video, like record the video that's like looking at each book or something like that, and then like do like commentary just talking about each book. But I would like to do that at some point, but I'm not sure when I will get around to it. And so to get to the questions on the actual let's enter some questions video. Atomic Bomb 36 asks, have you ever played the ARMA games? Yes, I have. I've played ARMA 3. I played a lot of ARMA 3. And I've played a little bit of ARMA 2. I think I did like some story missions. Can't remember if I ever did anything with ARMA 1. But ARMA 3 definitely. It's kind of funny because I remember when I first saw ARMA 3, when I saw like video of it, I was like, oh man, that's the futuristic, like it was honestly one of the best looking games I'd ever seen. I think I did go through the story mode of ARMA 3, but what I mainly did honestly was do custom maps, like people had done custom single player maps. I didn't really mess with the multiplayer too much. A friend of mine and I at one point did kind of mess around with it a little bit, but I haven't played it in a while. But what I did actually do was 'cause around that time I was going through like a big period of playing a whole bunch of Flight Simulator X, and for that I actually had gotten a Track IR, which is kind of like a these days you have the Oculus Rift, but the Track IR has got this little infrared thing that goes onto a cap, like a hat type thing, and you put like a little sensor on your monitor, and it tracks your head movements, which like I remember going back to a Flight Simulator like at some point recently, and it's very difficult to like go back to because I was doing it without the Track IR, and like cause like you really get into looking around your cockpit and whatnot. Like it's really useful. Joshua Robinson asks, did I see Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2? I have not seen either of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I don't really know too much about them. Honestly, it's like it's like a group of superhero type people or something. I might check them out at some point. Like it's one of those things where the first Guardians of the Galaxy like honestly feels like so recent that the fact that there's a second one almost kind of blows my mind away. Salman 6 Patel asks, Apple or Android? My phone is Android, and I've never really messed with any Apple product, to be honest. Like never even used a Mac myself. PlayStation or Xbox? I've generally always gone with PlayStation products, but I have nothing really against Xbox. I do have I used to like play a lot of Xbox and Xbox 360 or like friends' houses and whatnot, but generally I've been a PlayStation fellow. Sidemen or KSI. Honestly, I really don't know what those are. I think they might be YouTubers, but I've got no completely no opinion. Bob asks, raindrops keep falling, Peter or emo Peter? Now I think he had posted this question on, well, I think one of my Batman Begins videos, but at the time I actually did not. I did not understand it at all. Like what he was asking. I thought it was like quoting. I thought he might have been quoting something that I had said in the video. But now I realize what he means. He's asking, do I prefer the Peter Parker from Spider-Man 2 that's all giddy when he quit being Spider-Man and he's like marching along to raindrops keep falling on my head, to, or do I prefer the quote-unquote emo Peter who's like doing disco dances and whatnot? Honestly, I would say possibly raindrops keep falling, Peter, because at least, like, no, at least like he's a, a decent, like he's a nice fella there. Whereas, emo Peter just comes sort of a jerk. And what is my favorite Arkham game? I would say possibly Arkham City. Was it? You had Arkham Asylum, then you had Arkham City, then Arkham Origins, and then Arkham Knight. So I would say Arkham City. Virgil Hiltz asks, have you seen Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop? Since you enjoy anime, I strongly recommend you watch both of those. They're made by the same creator and are both highly successful critically and commercially. Champloo is my favorite anime of all time, and I'm currently translating it into my own language, Lithuanian. If you do consider watching them, I suggest the Japanese dub, but that's up to you. I've seen Cowboy Bebop. I watched it a few years ago, and I enjoyed it. I've not seen Samurai Champloo, and I actually did not know that there was a connection between them. I feel like something I've sort of been put off by Samurai Champloo a little bit. For somebody it gives me like a weird vibe or something. But I will I'll try to check it out at some point. I've got like a lot on my backlog, so to speak. And like I said, I did enjoy Cowboy Bebop, but at the time I actually watched it in English, like with the English dub. I think that was the time where, like back then, I didn't really care too much about dub, sub, and whatnot. Like my opinions on that type of thing have definitely changed. But if I were to rewatch it, I would definitely go back to the Japanese. And when it does come to the English dub, I do know that the Cowboy Bebop English dub is kind of highly regarded as one of the best ones out there. But like I said, I will definitely rewatch it at some point and rewatch it in the Japanese. Now, Bob asks, are you religious? Now, the short answer is no. And a lot of people will say things like, spiritual. Like I'm completely, I hate to like use labels and whatnot, but yeah, generally I would call myself an atheist. More leaning on like the agnostic side, more as like when it comes to just philosophically, I would just, like I said, describe myself as quote unquote like a hard agnostic, where just knowledge in general should be not doubted. Like we should be suspicious of our own senses, I guess. I feel, if that makes sense. Other terms that I might use to describe myself include absurdist and existentialist, which I'm not gonna go too long to define those here, but you can look them up yourself and whatnot. But they kind of just tie into the whole agnostic nihilist sort of thing. But when it comes to my relationship with religion, I do have a respect for the penmanship. I'm not sure, is that penmanship the right word? Like just the quality of writing of the Bible. Um, you know, it might just be because I really just haven't read too much, like too many books and whatnot, and so honestly, like the Bible is really kind of like one of my biggest. Is really kind of like the only thing that I've really read in my like off time, uh, in English. I have read a lot of Japanese stuff. Um, that is just kind of like when I see something like Lord of the Rings or something, I just kind of like I read like some Lord of the Rings, and then I'm just like, this is just the Lord of the Rings seems like baby play compared to like a lot of the writing in the Bible, where you have something, was it Deuteronomy 32, 33, where you have this like very epic, like poetic language, which it's just very astounding, it's very astounding to read, I guess. But as to whether I'm like I say like so yes I have a respect for the Bible as like a work of like literature and just human, I guess, imagination that like people would like I said, using like Deuteronomy 32 was like an example of like a to quote somewhat from my head, quote it from my head, like, and he made him to ride on the wings of the eagles or some of that. Like I was like it's a good literature type thing, but do I believe it? I do not. Magma Ascending asks, have you ever been to a really big convention like E3 or ComicCon? Also, which would you rather go to? Now, between them, I would probably like I have I been to either of them? No, I have not. And like I am kind of like I guess flattered that you would ask that because like usually people like if a Let's Player is going to E3 or something, it usually means that like, they're fairly big. Uh, but E3, I feel like I'm not really sure there's how much is really there that you can't really see at home, if that makes sense. Like watching the press conferences, just from your computer. I'm not really sure if there's too much that you lose, but I do know like E3, because E3 is a lot more like let me just go back a little bit. Because for a lot of people, like when they think of E3, they think of like the press conferences of the major companies. E3 is like the Sony, the Microsoft, the Nintendo press conferences. Whereas in actuality, E3 doesn't actually start until the press conferences, where it's like a trade show where you can go to see like the newest games. But usually, like everything, like I guess like, one benefit is that you basically get to play games that aren't out yet, or like have like just recently been released, which might be interesting. Um, but I guess it wouldn't really be my thing. Or I guess it would be my thing. Like if I was invited or something, I would definitely probably check it out. But I have no like ambition to seek out going to E3. As for Comic Con, that might be a little bit more up my alley, especially because I definitely remember like back in the day. I think I used to watch a G4 and like watch their Comic Con coverage and like back in like 2007, and it definitely was more of a comic focused type thing where they were showing like Ghost Rider trailers and whatnot. But these days I feel like Comic Con is more evolved into just a general pop culture festival almost. But it could be interesting to check it out. But if I were to go to like a convention, rather than like E3 or Comic Con, like when you're talking about Comic Con, I'm assuming you mean big like the big San Diego Comic Con or some of that. But if I were to go to like a Comic Con, I'd probably go to like a smaller one. Or a convention in general, I'd probably try to go to one that's more just not as popular, and it was not as like crowded and whatnot, because that definitely is something that would kind of put me off. Like some conventions that I know that are near me are there's MagFest, which I think is like about video game music or something. Um, but I think that has gotten pretty big in recent years. But there's MagFest. There's Otakon, which is like an anime convention, which I think it might be sort of big, but I don't think it's anywhere near Comic Con level. And also I think couple like much smaller ones I think that are also near me. I think there's Anime Mid Atlantic, um, which I really don't know too much about, but I know that it is a convention fairly close to where I am, and but I don't really think it's that big at all. And there's also one called I know NekoCon, which I think is also an anime convention, but I really don't know anything about that one either. Let's see if I can look it up. NekoCon. Uh, I typed in with a NekoCon. And NekoCon, annual 3-day anime convention. First weekend in November at Hampton Roads Convention, Hampton, Virginia. It's Virginia's oldest anime convention. It's a 7,000 people compared. Let's look up ComicCon San Diego. 7,000 versus 167,000 in 2015. So that's pretty crazy. It's a like a yeah. The thing about these conventions, like they just keep getting bigger and bigger. So you had your guests, Akinori Isobe, Mike McFarlane. I recognize him. Japanese clothing boutique, huh? And we just also look up Anime Mid Atlantic in Norfolk, Virginia. Offers an anime music video contest, artist alley, dance, dealer's room, hall costume contest. Yeah, that's still pretty small, or at least that's don't have any statistics past 2011. Then let me look up Otakon, or I think it's with a K, Otakon. And that's getting up to 30,000 people. Like it's growing. But I remember finding out about Otakon and like, well, it's always been pretty big. I guess it's actually fairly stagnant. I guess almost like it keeps averaging around 25 to 30,000 people since 2008 or so. Hmm. But yeah, that's my thing. I think you saw there I clicked away from when I record videos like this where it's just me talking. I play white noise to go along with it because it's just talking in complete silence without like a game music or something. Like it's kind of it's hard to me to I guess speak freely. So I put on some white noise. Red Hood 440 asks, "Do I have a favorite villain?" Not particularly. I think Venom possibly. Like I think he's a classic fellow. I remember, you know, I still have like these Spider-Man and Venom action figures that I got back in like I think I got for Christmas of 2000, like maybe 2000, maybe before that. Honestly, like there were these really old action figures that like it's like it's like a gun type thing that you put it on the back of Spider-Man or Venom, and you can pull these triggers and have them like punch each other. I'll try to actually Spider-Man Venom action figure gun. Let's see if I can find it. Uh, it's not really a gun. It's like a action figure trigger. Action figure fight. I'm not seeing it, but it is a pretty cool thing. Like whether or not I really call him my favorite though, depends on probably depends on the day you ask me or something. Do I like jazz? Not particularly. Like it's not something that I would look up, but if I hear it or something, I don't really mind it. So this here is a response to a question that I had answered last week, in which I kind of was talking to this fellow that was asking to do a collaboration or some sort. I've modeled my channel similar to yours. That's interesting. I would love to be able to do a let's play or just a one-off video. I think I might have mentioned this last time, but like if you do want something like that, just come to me with an idea or something, and then I will consider it. But like everything that I said in the last video still stands. You're just like I just do tend to be hesitant of things like that. But like I said, it's nothing personal. Matthew Rodriguez asks, "Are you in a relationship?" No, I am not. And he also asks, if I bought the new Spider-Man PS4 game and sent it to you, would you LP it? Well, I would LP it, regardless of whether you sent it to me or not. So I would recommend that you do not, send it to me, because that would just, you really don't need to do that. And so yeah, but I guess thank you for the offer, but I will. I would get around to it on my own accord, and so you don't need to like spend money or anything. So we have quite a few John Rady questions. He asks, what is your least favorite food? My least favorite food? Trying to think, because there aren't really too many foods that I just like, outright like hate or something. I'd say possibly tomatoes. Like it's one of those things where like tomatoes themselves, like just the texture of them, kind of puts me off. But I do enjoy things like like tomato sauce like on pizza and ketchup and whatnot. Or in general, there's a lot of like a lot of foods that I guess you eat are technically healthy. I've just never really been into like lettuce, like like leafy things like that. Like never really been into. Which is better, Joker or Green Goblin? I'd probably say Green Goblin, just because, like I said, much more familiar with him. Least favorite Spider-Man villain? Possibly. I was originally going to say Hobgoblin, because I just didn't really feel that he was too different enough from Green Goblin. But when it comes to like actual least favorite, I'll probably say like Alistair Smythe. Like I think I might have talked about this in like the in a recent Let's Play somewhere. But I was basically talking about how a lot of that stuff where a lot of my knowledge of Smythe comes from the '90s television series, and like whenever there was like a Kingpin or Smythe focused episode, like those are definitely just my least favorite. Give me some reasons why you would not play Spider-Man PS4. I really don't know how to answer that. Like if you're asking like things that I've seen about it that put me off, like I just really haven't seen too much about it. Like I've just kind of heard, that there's a game coming out. Like I really have seen very little of it, so I really cannot speak about it. Will you play the 2009 Ghostbusters game for PS3? Honestly, I was gonna say that until you asked this question, I probably had not thought about that game in since 2009 when it came out. Um, but I guess thank you for suggesting it, and so I can keep it in mind. But I have no immediate plans. Do I like the Spectacular Spider-Man show? I think I did watch a bit of it back in like 2012 or so, and I think I did enjoy it. I know there's also an Ultimate Spider-Man show, which I have not seen. Which do I like better, a burrito or taco? I would say I would enjoy tacos more, but specifically soft shell tacos. Um, I've always just sort of like thought of like a burrito as being a soft shell taco, but I know there is like a difference. Like a burrito is like wrapped or something, but I have more experience with tacos and specifically uh soft shell tacos. I really like. My thoughts on Indiana Jones. I've only really seen the first film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I feel like I haven't really ever seen it all the way through. I've only seen it like in bits and pieces, but it seems like a good series, I guess, like a good old adventure story. Least favorite console, I would say possibly PSP. I guess maybe like it's probably the one that I just got the least games for that I've got, and the PSP and the PS Vita both I guess would like I've never played a Vita, but I know that they've been sort of I guess touted as just you know paling in comparison to like the Nintendo counterpart. Just not really having too many games and whatnot. My favorite zoo animals. I'd say probably the any sort of ape species like chimpanzees, gorillas, and whatnot. Like they're always the most most like the most fascinating I think like to watch in a zoo. Have I eaten a soup sandwich? I have not eaten a soup sandwich. I'm gonna assume that's just like a sandwich in which you have soup and then you can dip it in a sandwich or something. Which I've actually not never done that. Mr. Ultimate asks, what do you overall think of Dragon Ball as a series? Have you seen the anime / read the manga? If so, what's your favorite characters and what's your favorite series? For example, Dragon Ball Z, GT, or Super. I did mention this in a recent Q&A video. I think not last time, but the time before that. I mentioned that I had that Dragon Ball was one of the first anime that got me into anime and whatnot, and that I had been reading. I'd read quite a bit of the manga in Japanese. But I guess to go into more detail, overall, I think it's a very good series, and I really like it, and I think it's one of that's easy for me to I guess return to and whatnot. Have I seen the anime? I've seen it. Maybe yeah, I have seen it. Like the last time I watched Dragon Ball was probably maybe in 2014 or so, and quite enjoyed it. And the manga, I think I was up to. I can't remember what chapter I was at, but I think it was like Vegeta had come back, or it was like Vegeta and Nappa versus the quote unquote Z Warriors or whatever. What are my favorite characters and favorite series? My favorite character would possibly be trying to like it's not really something like I know there are a lot of people that like are like a bit big into stuff like that like they really like Piccolo or something like that, but I've never really been like to want to favor any certain characters. I'd say possibly like to be a hmm. Well, I was gonna say Goku, but in order to not just be like generic, I might just say Krillin. What is my favorite series? I would say my favorite one would probably be the original Dragon Ball, which just, I really like the atmosphere of and whatnot. Not that I have anything against Z, but things did really change in a big way. I've not seen GT, but I would like to check it out at some point. And I've seen about 80 episodes of Super, and I enjoy what I've seen so far. Like after the like the recap arcs of Super Goat like are done with, the Universe 6 tournament, then you have the the Trunks saga or whatever, which I thought were quite nice. I guess to also just add on about my interest in the anime is I talked about in a previous question about how when I watched Cowboy Bebop for the first time, I watched it in English because like at that time I just didn't really care about the whole Japanese thing too much. And likewise, every time that I really sat down and watched Dragon Ball, I've watched it and I've watched the dub in English. But I think my attitude on that has changed, since then. And if I were to watch Dragon Ball again, I would probably watch it in Japanese. Obviously, I have seen quite a bit of it in Japanese because I've watched a bit of Super. And I have watched maybe like the first 20 episodes or so of the first Dragon Ball in Japanese, which it's a very nice experience. I think like if you are a big fan of Dragon Ball, I would recommend at least giving the series a shot in Japanese because I know it's one of those ones where when it comes to like your hardcore anime fans, I feel like so often you hear people talk about how I feel like most people that are into anime will prefer the sub or whatever, and pretty harshly critical of any dubs. But Dragon Ball is one of those ones where like people are like it's the complete opposite, where people are really critical of the sub, like the Japanese voices. Almost in most cases, whenever I see people talking about the Japanese voices in a negative way, it's because they're not fans of the Japanese voice of Goku, who is Masako Nozawa, who is a woman, and so which is very different, I guess, from his voice in the English dub. But I think like if you start from the beginning, I think she'll grow on you, and really, I feel like it's the type of thing where if you don't know that it's a woman, I'm not really sure if it would really matter too much, because to me, he just sounds like more of a he just sounds like a fellow with a sort of high pitched voice, because one thing I've often seen people say is like Goku's like this big macho guy. He shouldn't sound like having big muscles doesn't mean that you're gonna have a deep voice. Like you could have like a fairly high pitched voice and still have big muscles. Like to me, just cause, like if you were like to translate it into English, like he's just sort of like hey man, like he just sounds like a kind of a spry, high pitched voice fella. You know what I mean? Like Krillin also is voiced by a woman. He was it trying to think of, is it Mayumi Tanaka? I think is Krillin's voice, and in Japanese, and I've seen much less criticism of her, possibly because she does a better job at sounding like a high pitched fella, and also just possibly because people just haven't really given the Japanese too much of a chance to have even heard Japanese Krillin. But there's my little rant, I guess, about Japanese Dragon Ball. Comis LTU asks, I guess this is the final question. Top 3 worst and best games you have played. Honestly, I will not really be able to answer this question. Like, it's, if any of these previous questions have, shown us, I'm not really good with, favorite type of questions. But if I just have to pick 3 from memory, like, or from my mind, I would say top 3 in no specific order. Metal Gear Solid 1, Kerbal Space Program, I think deserves a mention. Because it's probably one of the ones that, especially in recent years, it's one of the games that I've just put more hours into than any other game. And for number 3, I'll say possibly I'll just say the Final Fantasy series. Like, I'll just kind of cop out and just say the entire series. And then for worst, this is honestly probably going to be even more difficult because it's the type of thing where most media and entertainment that I experience, I never really, like, it's very rare for me to come away from something and like it'd be like, oh man, that sucked. Like, I usually just don't really mind too much stuff too much. But worst games. Honestly, I'm drawing just a complete blank, and so I might just need to leave that unanswered because I'm probably gonna be here for a while trying to think of something. But hopefully you appreciate what I was able to give you. But that's all the questions for this week, folks. Post questions below, and I will answer them next week. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I was helpful and whatnot. Till next time, live it out.